Yeah, and it's not like I believe that everything has to be free immediately. It's just that the public domain serves a really good purpose, and that's for people like me to come across something 100 years later and be able to do something really interesting with it. And with copyright standing in the way, even 70 years after the author's death, it may still be under copyright, and that can be incredibly frustrating. For somebody who wants to do something totally unusual with the text. So I think it's less about making all culture free and more about making the terms shorter and more reasonable, and that's it's kind of an interesting reform challenge. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some really good examples of where people will get caught up in dealing with lawsuits and negotiations and maybe accidentally do something that they didn't intend or happen to have a clip playing in the background of some video, and suddenly they have to deal with lawyers and negotiations and pay huge royalty fees and stuff. So there's a lot to think about when you're remixing culture now, and it's a shame. And I do think that there are a lot of people who are kind of hung up with not stepping on too many toes and that kind of thing. On the other hand, I think there are a lot of kind of really adventurous, risky, experimental people who will just go grab stuff and remix it and, not care about the copyright questions. And I really think that's the kind of like admirable spirit, because like having worked in a space where people spend a lot of time worrying about lawyers and licenses and contracts and stuff, it's actually really refreshing just to see somebody like Girl Talk who just doesn't even want to answer the questions, just goes and does his thing, and it's just like, I'm going to do it this way. And so I think people like that will continue to kind of pop up no matter how restrictive the copyright laws happen. So it's never going to get closed off entirely. And I think that there are some decent checks in the system, but I do think that the overall expansiveness of copyright and the length of most copyright terms is totally excessive and absolutely needs to be reformed.